Today's podcast, guys, I'm sitting in this very comfortable domain hoodie that I purchased with my own money, and
What?
it's fantastic.
Must be nice someone send you paid for sweatshirts, Dave.
I paid for it out of my own wallet.
Oh, okay.
Since we talk about domain all the time, I'm sure somebody would say, "No way, they sent you all that stuff."
Right,
No, I actually paid for this. So,
right.
but anyway, thought I'd share that.
I
Very
do that
comfortable.
too. I support the companies that send me things.
Right. Good point. So, podcast 61, guys. And we're going to talk about some planting dates on certain varieties of plants, food plots, because you know questions are coming in, and we want to get to it and announce some stuff that you guys can plant. And these are the most common ones that we get because all the talk on the internet right now is food plots. People want to plant.
Yeah, I've been seeing so much about. I live in the Midwest, and I seen the weather forecast, and we're not going to have any more frost. So when should I
Hmm.
plant this clover?
Right.
Oh boy.
It's a little too early to be disking fields and doing all that other stuff right now. We're still in the dead of winter here, so we got plenty of time.
Here,
Huh?
here for sure.
Yes.
I mean, next week's supposed to be 60 on Wednesday, and then the next day the high is 24 in the snow.
Well, I know. Yeah, same way here.
Crazy.
Yep. It's gonna be in the 60s next week, but then
But yeah,
towards the end.
everybody's freaking out. They live in the Midwest. The guy was from Illinois. He said it's been in the 60s every day, and he doesn't think there's any more frost left.
Hmm.
So how am I going to frost seed this? Did I miss frost seeding? He said
Right. Right. And
things 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 have been hectic. He said
we're not gonna really talk about frost seeding because we've
we beat that horse
yeah, we put the nail in that coffin, and I'm tired of talking about
so,
clover.
so much that your throat's hurting. Look, listen to
My
you.
my throat is hurting. Yes. Rough year with sicknesses. But anyway,
Yeah, I'll see.
let's uh let's
Let's
start
get
with
right
number
into
one.
it. Let's get
Yeah,
right into it.
let's talk about number one. We made a list here. This is the most common, not in any order, but the typical most common things that people want to know. And we're going to start with buckwheat. And on my channel, I made a gazillion videos about straight buckwheat. And me and Chris planted it at the old farm several times. I remember the first year we planted it, we used a Groundhog Max on the back of, I should say, your four wheeler now, because you took the four wheeler.
I
You stole
stole
it
it.
from me.
I stole it.
So we planted it with that. And typically, guys, when you're planting buckwheat, it's about 50 pounds per acre, 50 to 60 pounds. And buckwheat is like super high in moisture. So it can be planted in, drought areas where you don't get a whole bunch of rain. It kind of retains that moisture. It's very good for the soil. And it doesn't really necessarily feed deer. I've seen it, where they will feed on it a little bit, but typically it'll you'll be able to grow it and establish it to where it gets whatever it is, 3, 4 feet tall, and then you can be able to work that back into the soil and improve it.
Yeah,
And the
soil
two,
builder.
yep, soil builder for sure. The two main reasons that main people plant it or how they plant it would be to turn that back into the soil
Green
as,
manure.
as green manure into the soil. But then you got the other guys, the other half that use it for the rolling method, where you seed into it and roll it, crimp it. Either one works fine, whatever suits you best. Our method is we just like to till that back in if we're planting it.
Then they spray
Now,
it with Gly and ruin it.
yes, spray it with Cly and dry it out and
dry,
defeat.
dry it out and deplete
Yeah,
it of moisture that
makes
you
it.
just grew.
Yeah, makes it like
Silly.
our Rice Krispie treat
Yeah, that's
crumbles up.
silly. Silly, silly, silly. But
But
hey,
yeah,
that's my opinion.
yeah, we don't do that. We just
No,
we
we
mill
don't.
it first and then disc it back into the soil, and it works extremely well. Um, What do you got to say about buckwheat, Chris? I know you planted it behind
I
your camp there all the time, and
I like buckwheat. I like, for one, it's great weed suppression. It's also great for uh, bees. Oh man, the
mm,
bees love it. It
hmm,
smells good. The deer are attracted to it somewhat. Um, at least my patch of the woods, they are.
you got stung. A bee stung you.
I never got stung, but it makes for very nice, picturesque
Does.
plots. You can take, it makes nice for pictures. You can film butterflies and bees. They love it, but it is a great soil builder. Um, I like to mow it a couple of different heights, go in with the brush hog and take the tops off, and then lower it down and just make mulch of it, and then it discs in a little easier that way. Because the first time I just went in and mowed it, just put the mower down, and it was like 3 foot stalks, and ended up just dragging most of it right off the plot, which was
Hmm.
not beneficial to me at all, really. So live and learn. It's all trial and error. I go in and cut it a couple of different heights and mulch it all up, and then get it disked in. But yeah, I enjoy the heck out of that.
Hmm. I
And
will say,
it's neat to see it head out and actually see the seed heads that you actually planted in the first place. They literally are just seed heads,
hmm,
and you can take them and crumble them and blow off the chaff, and there's the seeds that they sell you right
yeah,
there.
right.
100% ready to plant again.
You can reproduce your own seeds.
You can, if you have enough time to,
Mess with it.
do that. But
Um, I want to also state with buckwheat is that there's two main issues that people occur when they plant. Is one is planting it too early. Buckwheat loves heat, likes warm soil temperatures. Like I said, it thrives in drought conditions. But you gotta wait, guys. You gotta wait till after the season. Um,
and that's going to be a
or
common
not,
theme.
yeah,
That's a
after
common
the,
theme of today's podcast,
yeah,
anyhow. You're going to have to wait till the soil conditions
right.
are warmer.
Yeah, I was about to say you got to wait till after the season. What I meant to say is after like the spring, the cold temperatures. You got to wait till after that. And
Hmm.
everywhere has a frost date. So depending on what state you're in, county really. But if you look it up online, and I've stated this many times, like in Maryland, our last frost date is May the 15th. So anything that I plant in Maryland would be after May the 15th, and I always give it, a week or two shot both ways. So I'm not planning till third, fourth week of May, just to be on the safe side. And out in Pennsylvania, really, where my farm is kind of the same way. I'm leaning toward the end of May. So you don't want to plant buckwheat too early because if it does get any kind of coldness or frost, it will die off. The second mistake with it is people don't realize that it's such a short growing crop, meaning that the
Yeah,
maturity rate of it is it's a very short window.
I was going to mention that. Like, I mentioned about seeing the seed heads, but you don't really want it to head out, because if it heads out, uh, and it starts to drop those seeds, you've got a real mess on your hands with overpopulation,
Right.
basically.
Yep. Yeah,
And
you want it to
you
grow, but
yeah, you
not
want to
seed out.
yeah, you want to get it before it totally heads out,
Hmm.
so that you can turn it back in.
Right. You have about depending on the soil quality and how thick you planted it and all that stuff, you're looking at about 50 days, really. It's very short growing. Um, so you
Yeah,
have to time it to where, for instance, you don't plant it till end of June or mid June or whatever. But also realize if you do plant it, at the end of May or something, you could let it grow for 40, 50 days, work it back into the soil, plant it again, and then work it back in the soil.
yeah, our friends to the south can get away with that.
You can. I mean,
They can
really, in some states, you can get away with three of them.
Yeah, they can get it. They can get a couple rotations in, and
Hmm.
really put the organic matter to the dirt.
Yeah, definitely. If you can get two plantings of buckwheat in 1 year, I mean, you're winning.
Oh, for sure. for
It,
sure. Their
for
CEC and their organic matter is going to go through the roof.
hmm
Well, not through the roof, but they're going to help themselves.
Oh, for sure. You do that for, you know, in the spring you plant buckwheat, two rotations of that, and then in the fall you plant like, a thick stand of like wheat and rye, and then the following year work that back in with buckwheat again, and then wheat and rye. You do that for a year and a half, 2 years, you're going to tremendously improve the soil,
For sure.
organic matter, CEC, and fertility levels and all that good stuff. So, now, Chris, when where when you were planting straight buckwheat, where were you
Yeah.
getting it?
Where did I get that? I think I ordered that.
Did Chad have it?
No, no, he didn't at the time. I either got it from Merritt or Hancock. I can't remember which. I can't remember at this point in time because my memory is garbage.
There's a lot of places you can get it. I can't get it local here. I've always had to order it in. Um,
Mm.
but we did buy it from your farmer buddy that one time.
Yeah, that one time I still have some of that, believe it or not.
Mm,
But I'm afraid to plant it because it's probably full of weed seed.
yeah.
I'm looking for. I might just till up a spot for that this year over at the mother-in-law's, just off to the side somewhere, and just plant it
hmm
somewhere that I'm not worried about weeds. You know, off the plot, and just use it up. Just get rid of it. And I probably got a 5-gallon bucket of that left. I got a
Nice.
bunch. I got
I
a
don't have
bunch of.
any these days. I'm really the only straight stand of something that I plant will be like clover. Usually anything that I plant now, I'm into blends, like blending stuff together. But there would be cases where I still do straight buckwheat. It's very situational. I did it at the old farm just to really improve the soil, and we mixed in like sunflowers and all that, and we'll get into that. But anybody wanting to plant buckwheat, it's a great choice for something easy to grow.
It is
Doesn't
easy to grow.
super easy. Doesn't need a bunch of fertility.
It's as easy
Um,
as winter wheat or winter rye.
very simple.
Throw it. I think it would grow in the bed of your pickup if you had enough
Yeah,
dirt in there.
definitely.
You know,
Just keep two things. Keep in mind with it again. Don't plant too early, and realize that it's a very short maturity rate plant. So you got about a 50 to 60-day window before it matures out
and
and seeds.
it's not real finicky about how deep the seed is either. I mean,
Nah,
you can get it down to 1 inch probably, and it would still probably germinate fine.
hmm yeah, it's a cool crop to grow. Like Chris
Yeah, I
said,
like it.
the bees, it flowers out, the flowers turn white, and it's just cool to look at.
Yeah, I like just walking through it when the bees are all on it. You know,
hmm
it's pretty neat.
Yeah, very cool.
Which brings us to number two,
Yeah, what do you got number two?
Egyptian wheat or
Another good.
or screening of some sort.
Yeah.
A lot of people ask this time of year, when should I get my screening planted? Because it takes longer to mature, and I want it to be ready by archery season. And again, Egyptian wheat and sorghums and hybrids like that just want that warm soil. It's very uh, sun dependent, and it's very cool stuff. But it is an annual, so
hmm
you will have to plant it every year. And contrary to what some people say, every once in a while you will see a deer nibble at the mature seed heads, and the birds enjoy the seed heads as well.
hmm
But what I like, obviously, is for screening. But the next year, like after after it's been flattened out by winter time and everything, and you're getting ready for your next spring planting, man, when you disc up Egyptian wheat, the soil is black,
hmm
or at least very dark. You can tell that it did something for you.
Yes, very.
Remember that at the farm? Like the dirt was just like clay brown, and we moved over and disked that Egyptian wheat row up, and we was like, holy, it was so black. It was amazing.
Yep.
I would have never guessed.
Yeah, I mean, as soon as that stuff decomposes too, like a lot of times you could plant it and you'll get the thick stalks, but you can mow that and then help it decompose quicker
Yeah.
because those big stalks like that will take time to decompose. But if you a lot of times you can mow it.
Hmm.
But yeah, we use Egyptian wheat. We're using incognito now from Domain, but any kind of Egyptian wheat will work. But it again, it loves heat. Pretty fairly easy to grow. It is a little
Yeah.
bit susceptible to weeds. Like if you get some weeds in there, um,
Yeah. All the
they will.
foliates.
Yeah, like Egyptian wheat needs a lot of nutrients. So if you have weeds in there mixed in, it's going to suck a lot of those nutrients away, and you might get like thin stalks. It may not grow as tall. So it does need a little bit of juice for
Yeah.
it
Put the
to.
put the P and the K to it too.
Yes, yeah, very. Every this is my method of planting is I will I if it's a new area or whatever, I will spray it with Gly. I'll disc it maybe, and then wait a couple weeks, spray it again, and then disc it, and then should have a fairly weed free seed bed, and then I'll plant it and I'll add in triple 19 at planting, and then I'll let it grow for 30 days. I'll hit it with another dose of triple 19, and then later on, maybe 30 days later, I'll hit it with some liquid fertilizer, and that seems to work best. But some guys like to just throw nitrogen at it, and that's a mistake because you need the phosphorus or potassium to uh, to get those strong stalks. So triple 19 works best with it, and it'll really help it stand up.
Now here's a question for you. You say you go in 30 days later? Do you go in and hold your bag spreader high and go over it, or do you just go down the side dress it?
What I do is uh, I'll walk on one side of it and I'll broadcast it into it,
Yes.
and then I'll come back around the other way and I'll
Yes.
broadcast it into it
That's
that way.
that's what I do. I side
Yeah.
dress it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Obviously, you wait till the leaves are dry,
Yeah.
when you're hitting it because you got the nitrogen in there. But um, it really does help. It helps boost it up.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
How high do you think? We took some pictures at the old farm for some of the listeners. We had pictures. I would guess that some of those were probably 11 feet tall.
Yeah, I think the one year I measured it, I actually measured it, and it was over 12 feet.
Mm.
And the thing with that too is you don't necessarily need it that high.
No,
And I will say the taller that it is, the more susceptible it is
the breakage.
to breakage and falling over.
Yeah.
So a lot of times it may like Egyptian wheat has got about a 120-day maturity rate, but if you get those seed heads on there, it makes it top heavy,
Yeah.
right? So it's going to make it more susceptible to fall down. So a lot
Hmm.
of times planting it a little bit later,
Yeah.
um, it won't get as tall.
Hmm.
It won't get the seed heads, and it
Right.
won't fall over. When you get because that's the biggest complaint with Egyptian wheat is,
Right.
oh my God, it falls over, and
Yeah.
it will. It's going to fall over.
See,
Um,
I go ahead and I wait till about June to plant mine,
yeah, I mean you
and
could do even mid June,
I'm mowing clover, and people are like, "Why is your screening so short?" And I'm like,
right?
"Well, I just planted it in June,
Right.
and it takes a month or two to get like 2 feet tall, even,
Hmm.
and then when you hit it and give it a boost, it'll jump up a little bit, and you know, August, September, it's making leaps and bounds, and even if it's only 6 or 7 feet by then, who cares?
Hmm.
I'm only 5'5". I can sneak behind 7 feet. You
Hmm.
know,
Yep.
I don't need it to be 11 feet tall.
Yeah. Here's
Everybody's like so trigger happy with the cameras. Oh, look how
yeah,
tall my Egyptian weed is. Well, how tall are you? You only need to sneak behind the stuff.
right. One another thing I want to say too, and this is kind of in general, is that people have a like a one track mind. and it's not just in food plots, but it's in your job, your whatever it is. People always say, "Oh, well, I thought you had to do it this way.
Oh,
I thought you were
yeah,
supposed to do it this way," or
yeah.
you know what I mean? You always get that person, "Oh, well, I don't like you need to do it." No,
Well,
there's so many variables with there's a million different ways to skin a cat.
well,
So
that's that. We'll probably get a bunch of comments on this
yeah,
video how we're doing it wrong, and oh, you shouldn't till the ground. You should no till that stuff.
right.
To
But
each their
like
own, man.
yeah, like you go change your oil, people make a video on the changing your oil, you'll have 1,000 people commenting on it and say you're doing it wrong.
Right.
It's like, "Oh, I thought you were supposed to do it this way." Look, man, the way I plant my food plot is the way I do it. The way you do it may be different, and I don't really care, because I plant food plots and every year they turn out beautiful.
Mm,
So how is it wrong, right? So if somebody else plants it a different way and they're having good results,
mm.
then congratulations, it worked. But
Yeah.
it's the guys that plant and then they have failures and then won't accept the reasons on why they're failing.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So like it's I hate going like a job, like at your job or something. It's I thought you were supposed to do it this way. Dude, shut
Right.
up. This is the way
Well,
I do it
I,
and it works.
I had I had some comments before on that one time that I videoed planting Boss Brew by Domain. I put Boss Brew in, but I waited till like Labor Day to plant it on purpose
Mhm.
because I wanted everything to be fresh, small, tender, you know. So I never did get any like trophy pictures of a lush green, you know, landscape. It was all just like 4 to 6 inches tall, and they hammered the crap out of it. But
Mhm.
that's why I did it that way, was to attract the deer. Everybody was like, "Well, that didn't work out too good for you, huh?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah, actually it did, because it did what I wanted it to do."
Mhm.
Like you were saying, people have one track minds. They were thinking I should have had this stuff in June, and it should have been a foot tall. That's not what I wanted. If that's what I wanted, I would have planted it earlier, you know.
Yes. Yeah, there's
So
all you can like Mike stated on the podcast we did with him a few months ago or whatever it was, but he said you can manipulate plant maturity dates.
for sure,
And that's what you did is you just planted at a different time
yes.
because your purpose of it was to have that young for early season attraction. Now,
Hmm.
if you were to plant that, earlier into the summer, you would have had more mature plants, which would have benefited later into the season.
Yeah.
So, like I said, there's a million different ways to do something. Just realize that there's a lot of things you can manipulate when
Well,
you plant something.
I also, when I seeded that Boss Brew so late, I also mixed in, I think it was 4 pounds of clover with it, because
Mm,
I knew I was going to transition from Boss Brew into clover the next year. So I was
mhm,
thinking ahead already. And so any voids that I had was up and coming uh, clover.
yeah,
So the idea was to transition in the next year to all clover. And so I went ahead and put it in with my fall plot, which will get it established, and then it'll go dormant. And then in the spring, it'll pop.
mhm.
And I was mowing clover by the following, May.
You
So
were mowing clover about every 2 weeks.
I mowed a lot of clover this last past year.
Mhm.
Boy, I had beautiful manicured plots that were photo worthy, and I mean, you don't have to do that. It's just what I'm into. And but you can't. You also you cannot mow as late as like September, because you'll really take off all your tonnage for deer
Right.
season. So
Yeah,
yeah,
it's not
I mowed all summer and just made it pretty, and all those seed heads was flying and filling in gaps everywhere and reseeding itself. Man, it still looks okay even at this point in time in February.
mhm.
you know.
Yeah, you don't want to cut it back too late in the season because it's not going to have time to regrow.
Yeah, but I'm getting ready to frost seed.
It's coming up.
Yep. So,
Yeah.
where was we? We went
Let,
buckwheat,
let's
Egyptian wheat, and clover.
well, let's yeah, we did. We kind of covered clover. Well, we didn't cover clover, but let's skip number three because we nailed clover so much.
Yeah, we do.
If everybody don't know how to plant clover by now, shame on you.
Shame on you.
Let's jump right to number four, which is soybeans. And we also mixed in there. You could do like sunflowers, iron clay cowpeas, um, all that kind of falls into that category. Um,
Soybeans aren't that hard to grow.
no, they're not. They're pretty simple, but again, they love heat.
Hmm.
So the more that you can wait, for that, um, you should. And the same with sunflowers. They all these annuals that you're planting in the springtime, they need heat. Clover is slow maturing anyway. It's slow growing,
Hmm.
but obviously the warmer the temperatures get with it, the soil temperatures, the more you're going to grow. Same with soybeans and sunflowers. The problem is soybeans, most people can't grow enough because they get wiped out.
Hmm.
At the old farm, I actually planted 3 acres of soybeans and I fenced it with a dual perimeter electric fence for about 35 days. Took the fence down and they couldn't keep up with them. So
Do
if
you
you tried
remember?
to,
Do you remember the kind of day we had planting them?
yeah,
That was a horrible day,
was.
but boy, the soybeans did good.
Oh, they did.
And,
I
and we resorted.
Yeah.
Let me just fill in the listeners real quick. I'll make it fast. We showed up. The ground was a little too wet. Anyhow, it wasn't the best conditions. But Dave's coming from 4 hours away, so we had to make it work. So it
Mhm.
was wet, mucky conditions, and we're out there trying to till this up. And the ferminator was like all but getting stuck everywhere. And Dave was spinning out like crazy in the mud. And then the hitch broke on his four wheeler that was pulling the ferminator.
Mm.
And we also had the ferminator. Didn't we have the soybeans in the ferminator? And
We
we dropped.
started to,
We started to, right.
but then that's when
We
it
had to
broke.
bail it out. We had to bail it out, and we had the handbag spread 3 acres. We were just flying around in the rain, just throwing these
Mhm.
things out. We ended up even throwing some out literally with by hand, just taking them in a bucket, scooping them out of the ferminator and throwing them. But
Well,
but it worked out
it
really
was
good.
it actually rained.
Yeah,
It
it was.
rained, it was wet, and like I said, it was one of them situations where I was coming from far away. We were
Had
both
to get
there
it done.
set up, had to get it done, and I just gotta say, there's a million different ways to do something, and it's
Yeah.
not rocket science because after
Mhm.
that day, like, we literally did it like a half-ass way,
Oh,
and it and it worked. It
yeah,
turned out beautiful.
it was like 2 cavemen out there trying to.
I have a video on YouTube. If you type in soybeans and then my channel name, and it pops right up. But um, the I show the after of it. But they turned out great. Uh, you know, the other thing too with weeds, soybean. Anytime you're planting annuals, you got to have weed concerns. Some of these you can spray with chemical to control, others you cannot. But soybeans, some of them are Roundup ready, so you can let them grow up to a foot or something, and then if you have weeds, you can spray them with glyphosate, and they're not going to kill the beans. But just realize anytime you plant in the spring, you're kind of opening up a can of worms with weeds, and that's just the way that it goes.
Mhm.
Um, I would say soybeans are probably one of the biggest fails, just because people want to plant them. They're like the ice cream crop in the summer, but if you're unless you're planting 3 to 4 plus acres, I wouldn't really waste my time unless you want to, fence them off or something, you know, for 30 to 45 days and let the deer eat them. But ideally, you would want those beans to grow in the spring and summer and let them last all the way through into the winter time and have pods because that's going to feed the deer in the winter time. But you need acres and acres of that um, to happen.
Agreed.
Cool.
Special blends.
Yep. Special blends. What do you got
Remember
to say
that?
about?
Remember that
Huh?
special blends we ordered from Hancock?
Yeah.
Um, it had miniature corn, Milo, millet, and all that stuff in it. The little Tweety birds, I don't know what kind of birds they were. All the little birdies in my area, man, they was all over that stuff.
Hmm.
They liked it.
Yeah.
But that was
See what?
another heat thing,
Oh
they
yeah.
all
Yeah.
this stuff all this stuff seem you have to be patient. You have to get your soil shouldn't be any less than, like, 50 degrees at the coldest at night,
Hmm.
and it'll get warmer during the day.
Yeah.
Um, so people are all just, like, frantic right now. "Man, oh, we're getting 60-degree days." Well, it's not the air temperature, it's the soil temperature that you
Right.
have to pay attention to, and you have to have some moisture, which everybody does right now, I believe.
Too
But,
much.
yeah, in a lot of places, it is too much.
I mean, let's be real though. We're talking February, the end of February. Like we have
Yeah,
time,
we're not
people.
even out of sp we're not even into spring yet. We're not out of
No,
winter,
no.
you know?
It's you got plenty of time, and it's the same topic every year. People want to rush and plant, and
Yeah.
it's like, dude, take a
Even frost seeding, everybody's on the frost seeding bandwagon right now. I mean,
yeah.
it's a good way to plant, I get it, but there's gonna be some time left.
Oh, we got time.
I usually don't do it till the last of March, and you know what? Even if I miss it, if I miss the frost, so I just wait till the next rain's forecasted and I spread the seed and the rain beats it in.
Hmm.
It's not a big deal, folks. You can do this.
Yeah, definitely. Um, there's all kinds of different blends out there you can mix, and that's kind of how I am now. Is I like planting blends. You just
Diversity is a winner.
Yeah, yeah, you just get diversity, and a lot of the plants work together, and
The different
the,
maturities and the
yeah,
seeds, and
yeah,
keeps them
it's
coming back.
better for the soil too, where you have this thing taken away from the soil, this thing putting into it. You know what I mean? So you have this like give and take effect with the plants and different root structures, depths, and all this stuff working together, and that's kind of where I'm at. With planting things. So is the more plants I can add in there from a blend, I like the better. Like Domain has Overhaul, which is a blend of like it's got some clover, buckwheat, uh, some other stuff in there too. I can't think off the top of my head, but I planted that twice last year. Yeah, twice last year. Works great. Um, and it's got a radish in there as well. I can't remember, but that's basically the overhaul your soil, kind of like the buckwheat thing. But now you just have more diversity in there. You got different clover blends where you'd have what different heights, different maturities, and all that good stuff. So, like anytime you're planting a clover, you never want to plant one species of clover. You want something that has like 3 to 4. So all this stuff kind of works together, and the more you can have a blend, the better.
Yeah, I learned that the hard way when I first started out. I just would go to the co-op and just buy this specific, just give me some white clover or give me red clover or give me allspike. And I've done that before. And if it fails, then you got a whole plot that failed.
Hmm.
At least if you have four different blends of clover in there or something, if one of them doesn't do well, at least the other three are still popping.
Right.
So there's a little security there for you to
Hmm.
fall
Definitely.
back on.
Yep. Well, hopefully that answered the most common species that people are planting this time in the springtime. Like I said, buckwheat, Egyptian wheat, clover, soybeans, sunflowers, iron clay cowpeas, and then you got your special variety blends. All this stuff loves heat, guys. So be patient with it. Control your weeds, and I think you'll have good results.
Yep, I agree. Wait till you get the right soil temperature. Don't
Hmm.
rush it. We have plenty of time yet. It's only February 23rd at the time of this recording,
Plenty
and
of time.
it'll be out early March, but it's still plenty of time. Do
Plenty.
not panic. Unless you're in our southern border where the guys are done, just put it out before it rains, man.
Hmm.
A lot of that stuff will be good to go.
Definitely.
Yep. That was episode 61
61.
and Dave's horse.
Dave's horse.
And I'm grumpy.
You're grumpy.
See
As
y'all.
always. Later.
As always. See ya.
Later.